and welcome to episode 18 of India-Africa Talk Show, a weekly program on issues about India and Africa. Last week, we started a series, a two-part series on startup industry that is fast picking up in India and Africa. And last week, we had 6 young entrepreneurs in our show who shared their journeys and the kind of work they have been doing, the startups they have started in their own countries, and what were the challenges, what were the achievements in the recent past, and they shared the difficulties they faced in starting those startups and what kind of future they look forward to. Today, this is the second show, part of the same series, and today we have young entrepreneurs and business advisors from Africa and India who will be talking about the whole startup ecosystem in India and the African continent. First of all, I would like to welcome today Mr. Chigozie Udensi, who is a brand communication strategist and is a Pan-African scholar. Chigozie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. Hello.
Great. Our second panelist today is Ms. Ruchi Verma. She is founder and CEO of Humankind, a unique social design enterprise, and she's also a recipient of the Dalai Lama Peace Fellowship and 2020 Social Impact Talent by Echoing Green. Ruchi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Narendra, and thank you for inviting us. Pleasure to connect with everyone.
Our third panelist today is Ms. Joy Nwama. She is CEO of Mega Key Consultancy and Marketing Agency. Joy, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be around. Thank you, and I look forward to learning from all panelists.
Our fourth panelist today is Pinman Nongdu. He's joining us from Shillong, and he is founder of NetFoodish, an online food delivery service in Shillong. Pinman, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me in the show. I think it's a pleasure to meet with all the fellow panelists. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. It's great to have all of you in the show today. A recent report by KPMG says that, in last 12 years, from 2008 to 2020, in India, the number of startups have increased from 700 to 12,000. 7,000 to 50,000. And that's a huge increase in the number of startups in the country. The same kind of jump we have seen in several African countries also. And huge amount of investment is now coming in various ventures started by young entrepreneurs in several African countries. This gives a very rosy picture to us that, the startup sector is booming in India and Africa. And a lot of new age businessmen, youngsters are joining the bandwagon of the startup sector. To know more about that and to also know about the new startup ventures that have been started by our young entrepreneurs who are there in our show today, let's go first to Ms. Ruchi Verma. Ruchi, I would like to know about Humankind, the social enterprise you have started, why you have started, and how has been the journey so far for you?
So thank you, Narendra, again. Humankind actually is a vision where we want to see, it's a vision centered around children. And we want to believe that there is no child is small but equal. And Humankind is a platform for that to achieve this vision. So I had this idea about 6 years ago, but I was not able to work on it. And it was really killing me because I was just looking at it. So what happens is, how can we bring compassion in our everyday life? And I'm an architect and urban designer by training. So I wanted to see how the built environment emanates or radiates compassion and kindness. So how can your everyday life be filled with such kindness that comes from planning and design? And at the center of it, there was this deep question where I was thinking, what if children could be equals in designing? They have an equal seat while designing cities. And so 2 years back, with the recipients of the Dalai Lama Peace Fellowship, I started looking at how can we create compassionate neighborhoods by working with schools. And so what we do is we have this program called, our flagship program is called Crosswalk, where we are trying to understand how children, first of all, don't die, both in Indian and African countries, because we come from the lower medium income countries. Children are dying through road accidents, and it is no fault of theirs. They have been given that environment which has been designed by adults. So our first prime target is to remove this whole man-made problem where children are dying because of road accidents. And at the same time, if that could, our public spaces, our streets could be induced compassion, then how can we bring a better quality of life and better happiness through the lifetime? So our program is called Crosswalk, in which we conduct 9 design thinking workshops with school children. And at the end of it, every school will have its unique school street because it's been designed by their own children. And then we go up the ladder. We didn't want to go top down because for the past 15 years, I was doing top down. So we wanted to go bottom up. And that was the paradigm shift we want. We want children to have an equal say, equal space in the entire project lifetime, not just in the design phase. So they walk with us through the consensus building. They lead community consultations, and they go to decision makers and get what they deserve. And at the end, even in the implementation stage, we create urban infrastructure which has them and the community being done together. So humankind is actually this whole larger vision where you start with children, but you co-create a shared humanity.
Great. So you take children along with your, the entire design and everything is done from a child's perspective to co-create spaces and which spreads happiness. That's wonderful. Ruchi, you just said that you have been thinking about this venture from last 6 years, and it took you so much time. Do you think this is the best time to be in this sector, or Corona has put some brakes or created some new difficulties for new ventures like yours?
Actually, the best time is now. So whenever you decide to take that plunge, that's the time for you. And anything what follows, be it COVID-19, it's your context you have to operate in. So what an entrepreneurship mindset helps you is to be experimental, to be innovative. You're not bound by the systems or the structures that you were operating in earlier. So it helps you quickly pivot. It helps you quickly understand, because you are actually working with communities, and whatever communities are needing, you respond to that. So for example, for us, yes, schools are closed, but we have been in touch with our school children, and they have been constantly telling us that they miss school because that was their only social space. And also in the whole pandemic, children have been forgotten and again rendered invisible. So what we could do in this whole in this time frame was connect to our children time and again. And we also launched this campaign called Kind Time, where we wanted to give them space in this whole online platform, that what can they do in the pandemic. So they wanted to either give money, and they wanted to either support, or they wanted to say thank you, and so many other things. But all their voices were just silenced because we were so absorbed by how COVID was taking lives, and thinking only adults have a part to play at it and not children.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming to you, Pinman, you are a young entrepreneur in Shillong. Share about your journey. Why did you start this venture of food delivery in Shillong? What was the need, and are you competing with some big brands there?
Thank you so much, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
We can hear you.
See, the thing is that when it's come to a food delivery business, yes, it is very much required. And when I remember when I first started the thing in my place right after my MBA, so the thing here was completely not aware of what we have done, what the other part of the country has been done. So it's quite a big challenge for me, like coming from a business background, especially from a marketing background, to a food industry business, especially the hospitality they provided in terms of food is very different. So it's kind of very challenging for me. So due to the passion in what I'm talking, I mean, like what I want to be, it's always in my heart to do what I want to do. So although there is a challenging between, but the passion don't stop me to do it. So during that time, it's very difficult for me to, to communicate the service to the customer, because people here, they are not very much aware of how to use the application, how to use the mobile app. So it's all about offline here. So the thing starting from that time. So then suddenly, after a very long journey of time, then the things start becoming a little bit pushing up. People starting aware. Then a little bit of promotion here and there was done. Yes, there are a lot of been a lot of friends is supporting thing. My family was been supporting. So message has been spreading all over the part of the city.
Okay.
So this is how the thing has been done.
How old is your venture? When did you start?
We start this. I start during in the mid of 2017. So
Okay.
especially during this time, I'm starting this business.
Okay. Great. Coming to you, Chigo, then see, Chigo, how would you, summarize and share the startup ecosystem or the startup industry in Nigeria in particular, in Africa in general? What's your take on that?
Okay, I think the startup industry in Africa in general is quite unique, because I would have said for Nigeria alone in the past, but looking at the statistics and what's happening across Africa, you find a lot of young Africans trying to run away, in quotes, because they find living in Africa difficult, and to them this is a time where there are no jobs, no opportunities. But at the same time, you have a lot of Africans who are taking advantage of this opportunity to invest in Africa. And the most startups that you find is startups that focus on solving Africa's unique problems. There are unique problems in Africa that needs to be solved by Africans themselves, because they are the ones who have the understanding of those problems. And I would go deep into the types of solutions, startup solutions that are coming up around countries like Nigeria, South Africa, and mostly is related to technology. You see, with the rise in technology, that spiked the rise of investment, of startup investment in Africa. And you could understand that is because of the networking, the ability for everyone to be connected to the internet, and everyone who can own a cellular device or an internet device and build the connection. And most things are now connected, and people can find a virtual space where they can share ideas and where they can build connections that can help them to start up something. And also, I would like to give it up to the women. You see, the fact that there are more, not more, but there are a lot of women co-founders that are on the rise right now is also an important factor, because it's usually used to be a man affair. It used to be a thing for the men to start businesses, but now you have a lot of women who are also into businesses, and that has also, shocked the people of Africa, which is a good thing, and I give that to them. So virtually the ecosystem of startups in Africa is being pioneered by technology, is being moved by the access to knowledge, and we're hoping for the startups to emerge, more of them to emerge.
Yeah. I think, Chigo, very rightly you said, the startup industry is not only transforming the economic sector, but also a lot of cultural transformation is happening. A lot of women entrepreneurs are coming forward, and in the long run, that will have a huge impact culturally and socially as well. Coming to you, Joy Nwama. Joy is joining us from the Gambia, and she's CEO of Mega Consultancy and Marketing Agency. Joy, how would you like to summarize the startup sector or the industry in your country in the contemporary times?
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. First, already we have seen a growth in terms of technology hubs or companies that are growing, and it's being spearheaded by your people. of the Gambia. And we've seen a lot of women as well venture into food processing and agricultural activities. We've also seen a rise in terms of the number of social entrepreneurs in the country, which initially was not the case. Most people were based on capitalist angle. And we've seen quite a number of accelerator labs and other startup incubators as well that are eager to increase in and encouraging young people to venture into business activities. So overall in Africa, we're indeed doing very well. As you can see, as that I think as of 2019, we saw a rise in the number of technology hubs that we have, or companies. It's reached 90 in Africa. And of course, you're aware that over time, there's been a lot of concentration in seeing that we have a lot of deals that would increase the rise of entrepreneurship and startups in Africa. So overall, yes, Africa small business entrepreneurs are growing, and we're seeing a lot of positivity in young people. As Chigozie mentioned, that initially young people would have the mindset, including myself, that the only way I could have made it is if I went to the Western world. But over time, as I got involved in education, I told you my idea was sport in a classroom, and there I found my passion of what I do best, and it's quite impressive to show. Okay, now in India, let me quickly talk about India. We see that there are a lot of rise in technology, and we see a lot of rise in processing, food processing, and so on. Like we have our brother that's doing very well in food industry. Foodish is doing very well in the industry. Now, like you mentioned earlier as well, that there's a rise in terms of technology usage. Chigozie also mentioned same. Well, the problem is in a country like India, they have seen that technology is not just the only way forward. That's why they've inculcated, like you said, boosting a lot of consultancy firms to undertake researches to make sure that we get the accurate facts that would lead to forecasting and knowing where the future of entrepreneurship and startup businesses can be. And this forum is also a platform where we have identified ourselves, and we hope to collaborate more amongst ourselves. I don't feel that we just should be on this platform and then just vanish at the end of the day. We should come up with something concrete in order to boost businesses by young people in both India and Africa.
Yeah,
over to you.
absolutely. That brings me to the next question, which I want all of you to share your viewpoints is, joining the bandwagon is of course one thing, everybody's excited, opening a startup and, starting a new venture. But what about the sustainability of the startups? We have people, who are representing different industries. Ruchi is representing the social sector. Pinmar is representing the food delivery sector. I'll come to you, Ruchi, first. Social sector heavily depends on grants, heavily depends on funds raised from industry and from individual funders and institutional funders and all. Given the COVID scenario, it looks quite difficult that in the coming few years there will be a lot of funds available for the social sector. How do you see the sustainability of social sector entrepreneurs and the startups that are coming up, the social enterprises that are coming up in this sector to survive in the long run?
Narendra, no doubt that there is a paucity of funds for social enterprises, especially those who have registered as non-profits. And at an early stage, it is definitely quite challenging. But when we got into becoming entrepreneurs, we always knew that this is one challenge that we would be working on constantly for our. So the beauty of it is in our business model. And I started my enterprise in November 2019, and very early, and while working with schools, and when schools are closed, then you need to pivot and understand. But also new age nonprofits and new age for-profit enterprises uh, in the social sector basically are not relying heavily on grants. There is a innovative, they're thinking about diversity in the plan. We're thinking about how we can look at different frequencies, while working for the same target group or target audience. So when I did my first introduction to social entrepreneurship came from a 9-month fellowship program at School for Social Entrepreneurs, and constantly, we have been thinking about how this funding gap is closed. So as an early enterprise, I have been quite relying on volunteers. I still don't have a permanent staff, but there are people who want to volunteer or be part of humankind in some form. So my challenge or my innovation here is to customize the volunteering opportunity according to what they can offer, and yet I know what the larger plan we want to achieve. Simultaneously, in India and in the world, there are a lot of like incubators now opening up, providing financial help if we don't have direct access to grants. So in this time, I think I must have applied to about 17 incubators. So there is a constant hustle which has to be going on. I'm very happy that Echoing Green came our way. But like I am around social entrepreneurs and I know the challenges that they're going through. We really need to hustle. We don't. The only thing is, if we don't give up, if we give up, then the story stops right there. In a country of 1.3 billion, there would be somebody, coming and helping you. We just have to
Yeah,
find that. So as an early non-profit, I can just say, yes, it is challenging. We just closed our first fundraiser,
yeah.
and it
Okay.
was a lot of like energy, but we were happy that we also found who is helping us and who we could close that successfully.
Yeah. So that positive bent of mind that you have to keep striving for, not just funds, but the bigger idea, the bigger picture, that the kind of change that you want to bring in through that idea, that keeps you going. Coming to you, Pinman, you have started a food delivery service startup. There are already big players in the industry who are there for quite some time now, very well known throughout the country. Uh, why you ventured into this sector, and what is your USP? Why do you think people will prefer you or Netfoodish instead of the bigger names which are there in the sector?
See, if you are talking about maybe it's kind of a rival or your competitors, for me myself, I don't believe in all those things. A service means it's a service how you provide to the user. I remember when I'm studying my marketing course, one of the great author, he is also known as the father of marketing. He quote one word. He said, a satisfied customer, that is the best marketing you have done ever. So if you believe on those words, that means you don't care about others. It's all about how you care about your customer. So in when you can achieve all what have you wanted in life, or you wanted to your, that is the point of doing business. Whether it's a big rival, whether it's a giant, it can be anything. But
Great.
first thing, customer is your first priority, then the rest will be automatically come whatever in what way you want.
So putting the customer first is
Yes,
your
very true. Correct.
mantra for success.
Yes, very true.
Great. Coming to you, Chigo Densi. Chigo, in the last few years, huge investment has come in several sectors in Africa, especially the tech-driven startups. But do you think Africa in general has, has the atmosphere, has the institutions to sustain and to provide a long-term solutions or a long-term playing field to young entrepreneurs, or they still have to look out for Western countries or other countries, big markets or big countries outside Africa?
Okay, I'll just couple from what Pinman has said, right? I believe Africa has the capability to uh, to build their investment on the long run, though there are challenges, and the challenges root from, like it says, the marketing of this of the marketing from the entrepreneurs. It's how you project your business to the society. and how you brand yourself beyond the marketing. Now, that being said, you realize that the challenges in Africa, most challenges in Africa, make this branding difficult for entrepreneurs. For example, you have the electricity problems, you have some other challenges with transportation, with taxes. Now, these are challenges that entrepreneurs have to face in Africa. And due to these challenges, it's hard to create a representation. The brand is suffering, the business suffers, and you cannot communicate to people what you are not doing, because when the people find out that, okay, this is what is wrong with it. In fact, you're not the one who will tell the people that your clients, your business, your market, that there's something wrong with your business. They will figure that out by themselves. And the moment they figure that out by themselves, you start to lose your customers. So there are deep-rooted issues that make Africa's development, that make Africa's startup development not last, or not have long-term goals, not have a long-term vision. But it is very possible. It can be done.
Yeah. Joy, coming to you, Chico just pointed out several challenges that entrepreneurs have to face, be it related to technology, electricity supply, taxes, which are there in India also, the same kind of problem. Do you think the governments have any plans for creating, a long-term space for the startup sector in their economy?
Thank you very much. That would be yes. If you look over the years, I think last week when I was on the show, I mentioned something on regulation also. So if governments created platforms like the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, right? They came up with this enactment of national export, not national export strategy, national policy on entrepreneurship, right? And over the years, we have seen that they have constantly implemented the plans, which means that government are aware that in order for Africa to grow, in order for India to grow, they need to take up the challenge of creating that conducive environment where young people would feel a part of, and as well recognized, because recognition is very important. Chigozie would agree with me that as a brander, and the Foodish will as well agree, hence he studied marketing. In order for people to believe in your capabilities or believe in business, branding is quite important. And how you get that branding? If you're branded and there's no recognition to it, well, it means it's like a waste of resources, so to speak. So I feel governments are aware, like in a country like India, the regulation policy have really been looked into, and so far we've seen that there have been an increase in the number of startup businesses that are registered. Now, part of the determinants of innovation and entrepreneurship in Africa, Chigozie mentioned that electricity, transportation, and taxes. In addition to that, I'd like to say bribery and corruption, land ownership is a problem, construction issues. Now, as a young entrepreneur venturing into business and you don't have the right nexus, you're expected to pay a token to most of these people that you find in ministries or institutions, and you may not really have that resources. That being said, deep in hand into the resources or financial plan that you've had for your business, it means you're going to be deterred from growing, because that fund that you have, you already made plans for it. And due to bribery or corruption, you are made to deviate from your plan to suit what will enable you have a fair playground in the market. Now, I think some time ago, I think it was the 17th or so, I was invited to the AM show, the Gambia Radio and Television Service. And part of what I said to them is, we need to be given that opportunity to grow. The big sharks, the sharks in the market are always trying to eat the small fishes. And that is not supposed to be done. Human beings, remember the age gap that we have should really mean a lot to them to say, well, these are young people trying to start up. If we are no more, these are the people to continue the legacies of our businesses. These are the people to encourage other youngsters to take up, to shift the rate at which the contribution of startups would have in the future or in the long run. So Africa and India have a similar, we have similar changes, but although you would see that India have actually gone far, because in a country like India, your rank doing business in your country or India is ranked at 137, 190 nations. If you look at other countries like Mauritius, for instance, Mauritius is quite doing significantly well in terms of doing business. This is where technology came in. And I think last week I also mentioned about countries that are really thriving well, and part of it being Nigeria, Kenya, and so forth. Now, in a country like Nigeria, I think, is it DLaw? DLaw started this initiative of doing things yourself. Go online, register your business. It's a legal firm, by the way. Register your business and you're good to go. And in a country like the Gambia, we also have good innovation. Like we have the likes of Gisco. Gisco is a company that is focused on creating an enabling environment for education. Now, we were just complaining, or the social entrepreneur here, my lady, Humankind, mentioned about the significance of, putting children on check. They need to have a voice to speak. They need to, constantly be given that environment where their abilities be continuously utilized. Because if we let that diminish, it means we are starting from beginning again. And this is really what we want. And this is why Joe came in and said, well, the best way to do this is get a G online quiz activity and all other activities that will enable us. And in line to that, that's why Megakey as well came up with the idea of creating free webinar how to become a successful entrepreneur. The reason for this is to constantly keep people on check. We understand that most people are knowledgeable of whatever activity they want to do, but they still need to be nurtured, because on a daily basis, we need to learn, we need to improve, we need to, look at the trending activities, businesses, and so forth. We need to meet on trend. And today, as I'm going to get something from the store, I got to meet some people we call apprentice conductors of commuter vehicles. And I said to them, I saw them sitting and just doing their thing. I'm like, hey guys, how are you? And they responded. I said, would you like to be taught how to become a successful entrepreneur? Well, it turned out it's the first time someone's approaching them to offer them a free service, because these are people that are unaccounted for, so to speak. They are accounted for due to the line of industry they find themselves. They've been looked down on, but they were highly interested to learn to become successful entrepreneurs. Now, if we could train those sorts of individuals, then we're increasing the capabilities and capacity of individuals would grow the economies of Africa, and also collaborate with a country like India to learn how to become more successful. Like Foodish, for example, is doing very well in his delivery and food industry. Now, I noticed that in India, you have the snack that has gone global. The Indian snack has gone global. And these are from raw materials in India. And in Africa, we as well have our own raw materials. We now have chin, and we have plantain. All of these are processed. Now, if we can come into collaboration with a country like India that have done significantly well to learn the models and learn the styles of how they have really gone far on industrialization, manufacturing precisely. What it shows is we can learn how to process further and utilize some of the raw materials we have around, and customize it to be African made and sell it to the international market. Because, for example, a country like the Gambia, where than 2.3 million at the latest data, it means that 2.3 million people is quite a small market for us. So we must expand. And this is why in our session we mentioned about intra-Africa trade. there's this Afro-Continental Free Trade Area agreement that most of our countries are signatories to. Now, the question should be, start businesses, what are the benefits of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs like us? How can we benefit from it if we're not into production?
Yes.
Because you have to be in production to
Joy,
export.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We'll come to that again in the show. We'll come to that part again in the show in the next question. Coming to you, Ruchi, do you think the current environment in India is enabling for the startups, or there are more deterrents currently? Because you have just started your venture, you must have gone through the entire chain of activities and work you have to do on ground before actually starting your venture. So do you think that it's a more positive enabling environment for young entrepreneurs in the country?
I will say that every day is like a new learning. I mean, we discover something new as a young enterprise that we should have done or we should know about before taking our course of action. And I'm still like trying to grasp around but it's been easy. I will say it's not been tough. The tough part has been within, like, to not have a sustained salary or not have any, so it's a different, but it's also what
it's
comes
a mind
with
game.
it.
It's a mind game of the entrepreneur.
And if you can champion that, I think all these other things I think can come. But India has definitely, we have these adult incubation centers, and we have a lot of, especially for women entrepreneurs, there are a lot of like support, and people are ready to listen to your ideas. So we are at that phase right now, and we want people to partner with us and collaborate. So perhaps Piman could tell more about he's been in the game for a longer time.
Great. You and Joy also just mentioned about collaboration. So that's my next point in the show today. Joy briefly also discussed about how collaborations can happen, especially in the food industry she was mentioning. Ruchi, you are in the social enterprise sector. And if we talk about India and Africa, a lot of social problems are quite similar in nature. Do you think an organization like yours can have a collaborative partner or collaborative outlet somewhere in Africa also? Are you thinking on those lines? Or maybe in next few years, would you like to also explore doing something similar in Africa?
Absolutely. So scale has been in our mind since inception, because it's not a small problem at all. If in India 45 children are dying daily due to road accidents, then it's happening the same in all our lower middle income countries. The entire effect, it affects the GDP of our economies. So what we are trying to do is, in our early stage, trying to bring it as modular as we can, so that it can be easily taken and customized to a particular context, be it Africa or be it any other country in the South Asian region or in Asia Pacific. So the whole idea of children dying while going to schools is actually a global pandemic in itself. And it has been acknowledged by many bigger foundations like FIA Foundation, other UNICEF has been working on it. And it's about looking at it in SDGs have recognized it in SDG 3, SDG 11. We work on peace, so SDG 16 and 16.7, where people participation is really critical. What social entrepreneurs are bringing to value in this whole agenda of leaving no one behind and achieving SDGs by 2030, it's also the contribution of how innovatively we are able to look at the same problem. And in our plan and our pipeline, we are actually customizing any idea that can be taken to geographies, because as we work in cities and as we work with schools, every school is different, every person is unique, and every city would be different. So streets, while we have standards, but the communication it does to their own communities would be quite different as we take it from one geography to the other.
Yes. Great. Coming to you, Chigo, Nancy, Chigozi, we are talking about collaborations. You have been communication strategist and advisor to several companies. Do you think that in your country, in Nigeria in particular, and in Africa in general, if any of the Indian startups would like to collaborate, do you think there is an enabling environment there in Africa to collaborate with Indian startups and make it a global brand?
Yes, I strongly believe that there is collaboration opportunities between Africa and India. I'll talk about Nigeria in a bit, but first of all, in South Africa, there is a wide Indian community that creates a big bridge for collaboration between South Africa and India. And that being said, there's been a lot of Indian companies coming into South Africa and creating opportunities for development. And now coming to Nigeria, there is quite that same model being transferred in Nigeria. But I must say there's one thing that is specifically important when it comes to startups and the collaboration between Africa and India. It's the ability to communicate the same message in in the organizations. Is the ability to communicate the same message in different ways to different people. Now in India, if you start a company in India, how you relate that company to the Indian society will be totally different from how you relate the message from the company to the Nigerian society. So there needs to be that step down, and that's the advantage countries like South Africa and Kenya have over West African countries, where because these countries have more Indian people, so they have built that bridge where they have their citizens there to play that role. And well, now we have the internet. Now this is where this is where the tech startups coming, where they have the advantage of creating softwares that can translate, softwares that can create the same impressions that companies have in India and also in Africa at the same time. Also, there's also this new trend of outsourcing, business process outsourcing, where people can have a face of their business in different countries in Africa. You know, with the rise of e-commerce, and there's need for data from everywhere in Africa. So companies in India can partner with companies, can outsource to companies in Africa and collaborate on real-time services. So yes, there are opportunities, and tech has made it possible.
So Chigozi, you think that the presence of large Indian diaspora in various African countries could be of immense help in forging those collaborations between India and Africa? Wonderful. My last point, coming to you, Pinman, you are into, you are a young entrepreneur coming into food delivery business. What are your plans? What are your expansion plans in the near future?
Yes, as a service business, we always have in mind when to extend, where to extend. But the main thing is that you have to choose when is the right time to extend. So if you can choose the right time, let's say I am here in Shillong. Now, for me, what I'm expecting is like, first we have to create a very good foundation. So when you expand your business, that means what have you done in your own place. When you move, it will not affect it. The same service you will provide to other, so there will be no bad feedback, no bad review will see. So for me, expand a business, yes, there is a very good view in mind that I have to plan a business. But the first consideration, or to everyone, if you expand a business, first understand where your foundation is. Then you move at the right time and at the right place. So people will understand you.
So Pinman believes that once your foundation is strong, collaborations and expansion would be more strategic and more useful for everyone. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Time is over now. Thank you so much for joining us today in this discussion. It was the second part of the three-part series we are organizing as part of India Africa Talk Show, where we interact with young entrepreneurs and try to know what they are doing currently, what kind of startup ecosystem is developing in their own countries, and what are the opportunities for collaborations and joining more hands in the coming future. Thank you so much, Chigozi Udensi, for joining us today from Nigeria.
Thank you.
Joy Norma, if you can hear me, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us today in the show. Pinman Nongdu, thank you for joining us today from Shillong. And
Thank you so
my
much,
best
Mr.
wishes
Ganesh.
for the success of your young venture you've
So much.
started. Joy is back. Joy, thank you so much for sharing your views today in the show.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to collaborating. One favor, can everybody share their contact details so that we could at least form a WhatsApp, and then we continue the
Sure, sure. We'll
conversation
do
there.
that. We'll do that. Ruchi Verma, thank you so much for joining us today in the show and sharing about the vision and the kind of work you have been doing through humankind. It was wonderful having you in the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers, we'll be back again next week on Sunday at 8 p.m. India time in episode 19 of India Africa Talk Show. Till then, goodbye and good night. Thank you.